Hello and welcome to the RTO Show. I'm your host, Pete Shau. And listen, today we have a story. It's something that every time that we go to FRDA, every time that I'm a part of what happens at FRDA, I hear this story. It's one of the most amazing things that I've come across. The love, the respect, and what comes out of it every single year is just amazing. You know that Paul Metivier is a friend of the show. I talk to him a lot. He was the one that actually talked to me about this. And after saying it, I had to talk to Cecilia Kaye about what's going on and get her side of the story because it's such an amazing and touching story. So as I have her here, we're actually talking about Kirk Kaye and some of the things that he did in his life. And to be honest with you, amazing things. Somebody who gave back to rent to own in an absolute amazing way. But not only that, gave back to the community. He was so much involved in the community, just like we like to do in rent to own. And you guys know what I'm talking about. Every year, we like to be involved in Thanksgivings. We like to be involved in Christmases. We like to be involved in those special days that make our customers happy. Birthdays, the anniversaries, the days to get the first car, whatever the case is, we want to be a part of that. Well, Kirk did just that. And not only did that, he did that well at being a part of the industry, not only doing an amazing job, he was also a family man. Great family, great legacy that he's left behind us. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but talking to us now is his wife, Cecilia Kaye, who has done nothing but amazing work since then and honoring what he's done for us and what he's done with his communities. Cecilia, how are you doing today? How are you? How is the world today with you?
My world is doing really good. It's really great. Thank you for asking. It's been 5 years since he's passed, and it was a really hard road for me and for the children, but we really are flourishing now. And so I'm just so excited to be here today and to share Kirk's story with you.
Well, just to give you guys a little bit of backstory, he was vice president of operations in the first American rental in Atlanta, which is a success on its own. But then he opened up later on Gator Rents in Daytona Beach, which I definitely want to get into about that because I actually have family in Daytona Beach as well. So I really, the thought of just having a little bit of history out there and then being able to to venture off a little bit, Kirk was definitely known for his generosity. Yeah. But as this came out, being at FRDA, there was an award listed in his name, the Kirk Kaye Award. And so we'll get into that in a little bit. But starting from his career and everything that he's done, what stands out most about Kirk and the way he was a volunteer and the way he did things?
Well, it was his true nature. I mean, it was something that came very natural for him, and he was always thinking of others before himself. And he always had a really great talent to see if someone needed anything and to make their day just by, talking to them. And he always did a lot of jokes. He had a great sense of humor, and he always made everyone around him feel special. So that was truly just who he was. I mean, that was the man that I fell in love with. And he always made me smile and laugh every day and made me feel special. And I really enjoyed every moment we had together. Really did.
Well, on top of being an excellent rent-to-own dealer,
yeah,
he was a spotter at the Daytona International Speedway for NASCAR. He was a commissioner of the Greater Daytona Beach Fantasy Football League, which, anybody knows, I say he loved football. He also personally coached his children's softball teams. And what was it? Softball and basketball teams.
And basketball. Yes. And basketball.
Cecilia, where did he find time to do? I run a podcast. Okay. And I have a full time. And let me tell you, I am always running up against time. How did Kirk manage to do so many things and get it right?
Well, when we first started dating, he was so busy and with First American Rental, and he was traveling a lot. We rarely got to see each other in our first few months when we were dating and everything. So when he opened up his own store, it was so nice because he got to come home every night, And so we just made the most of all of that whenever he got home at night. And, you really have to have a good team player, partner, not team player, but partner, when you want to go and do certain things and achieve different goals and just expand your life, because someone on the other side's got to be behind the scenes, cooking and taking care of the kids and, helping them with their homework, make sure they bathe every night and being a chauffeur. But, so we were really a good team in that regard, because when he was doing different things and different hobbies and stuff, whenever I needed to do something or something I wanted to do, he would step up and he would be behind the scene guy, kind of guy. So it really kind of worked but for the both of us. We were really a great team and we respected one another. And I would have to say the 35 years of us being together, we rarely said no to each other. It just was always like, all right, is that what you want to do? You really want to do? All right, well, let's see if we can do that.
I love that. So let's frame this. For somebody who has never met Kirk, we're putting him on the podcast, we're talking about him. How would you introduce the idea of Kirk? How would you express that to somebody and say, this is who he is? I'm going to introduce this person into the world. How do you do that?
That's a good question. um, he was just such a honest and genuine person, and smart and trustworthy and so much fun. I mean, his sense of humor was incredible. And the way he thought about things just made you know that he was a really special person, that you just don't. I've never met another person like him ever in my entire life. And I've met a lot of people. And he just hardworking. His ethics were off the chart. And he was very loving husband and father, and just, yeah. And he really just really loved people, is the best way to put it. He really loved people. And there was just nothing that he wouldn't do for someone.
Every time that I hear a story about Kirk, it's always an amazing story. It's never been a story where I'm like, that sounds pretty good. No, it's like, it's always something that he did, something that changed somebody's life, some way the way he was. Describe to me a little bit. He was in corporate operations, and then he does his own thing. Like you said, he opens up this RTO shop. Like, what do you remember about that leap from being in the corporate world to literally running your own location? I know you said that he got to come home every night, which is always a benefit, but I mean, it's also a big leap, right? Because now, instead of being a corporate location where you have an HR department, you have somebody that takes care of the bills, you have accounting, you have a marketing, you have this spend. Now it's all you. So it goes from 100% being involved in that corporate life to Kirk is the man, right? He's the one running it from A to Z. What do you remember about that change and that leap into ownership, and what was that like?
Pure excitement. He was so excited about being an owner. Now you have to remember, when he first started rent to own, and the first time he ever started working in the rent to own industry, he was only 20 years old. And it was him and Matt McCullough and Audrey McCullough and him. And they had 2 stores, and, he did it all. They did it all between the 3 of them. And then they started hiring more people and they just grew from there. But I mean, he was doing it all. He was delivery guy. He was the hiring guy. He was taking the orders, and, he was doing it all, even at 20. So but he always wanted to have his own. So when he made that leap, it was pure excitement. I mean, he wrote his own business plan. He got all the funding for his store. He renovated it all himself, and created his own logo, did his own logo for all his marketing materials and everything, and just his signage. And it became a family venture, because the kids would love to go there, and all his customers knew the children. They knew me. And that was probably the best years of his life. He loved it. Just absolutely loved it.
I want to go off the side a little bit. I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Gator is a very specific thing. Where did the name Gator Rents come from?
Well, he had a vision of, he's a big Tennessee fan. Oh my gosh, right? And Tennessee and Florida do not like one another at all.
Exactly.
Not at all. But he felt like if he was in Florida, he wanted to, Daytona is kind of close to Gainesville, not too close, but I mean, kind of close. But he wanted to maybe, if his vision was he could go from state to state and work with the SEC schools and their mascots and everything and have it, Seminole Rents or Gator Rents or Hurricane Rents or anything.
Uh,
He just sort of separated himself from his Tennessee, which was hard because back then when he opened it was Steve Spurrier and he was constantly digging in to University of Tennessee. I mean, I remember Steve Spurrier saying one time, you can't spell the Citrus Bowl without UT. They were always beating us and we always ended up in the Citrus Bowl every year. So that was kind of hard for him to swallow, but that was his vision and that's how he came up with Gator Rents.
so he put it all aside, but he just to kind of sneak in there and get
Yeah.
something working out. How far
Yeah.
did that go? Because I mean, later on, I do know that he ended up being a franchise consultant with Buddy's Home Furnishings. So,
Right.
like, was it hard? Was the SEC just hard to give out those kind of names? And I imagine they're probably very hard to work with on certain things, but.
That's probably true, but it just got to the point to where we just stayed more focused on the children and family life. I mean, he could have broke out and had all these different stores and all this and I remember a few years ago he was like, I didn't achieve everything I wanted to achieve and I said, you really kind of did because you were home every night. You were the center of the family. You got to watch your children grow up every day and you got to participate with everything that they did. And you were always here for your family. And I said, to me, that was the greatest achievement of your life.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
To say that is to be
Yeah.
amazingly blessed. Some people say that wealth is in the riches. I think wealth is in the family. Wealth is in your legacy. Wealth is in what, you can say that you did by raising children, by having, an amazing relationship with the people around you. It makes a difference. It really does. Was there a particular moment in his career that you remember, maybe even for you, that you felt like was the exact highlight, something that you were really proud of, or maybe something that he was really proud of that he mentioned to you during his career that kind of stood out? Like, this is it. I have my own location, or maybe this is it. I have my location, and now I'm ready to back away and do something less. Like, was there a moment that either maybe you guys agreed on it, maybe you didn't, but there was a moment for him, or maybe a moment for you that you said, this was it. This was the pinnacle.
Well, we definitely both agreed to buy Gator, the store, and to start his own. I mean, we never did anything without discussing it first and agreeing with the both of us what our expectations were and our goals and dreams were. And we always made sure the other one was supporting that and talk about the things that we're going to feel good about it and maybe things we're not going to feel good about it. So we were always very open and honest and upfront. I think to him, opening up Gator Rents had to be the highlight of his career. And also when he reached like the 10-year or 20-year anniversary with Gator Rents was always. But, even before that, during the corporate years with First American Rental, he was very proud of them making the Forbes 500 privately held fastest growing companies in the nation. And they did that 3 years in a row.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so he was very proud of that and rightly so.
Rightly so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you were mentioning this a little bit in the green room before we were talking, but what kind of leader was Kirk? What kind of manager was he to the people around him? If you were to say his leadership style and what he did, if we were to just randomly call somebody that worked for him, what would they say about Kirk's leadership?
He was a great encourager and just really gave everyone and had their back and was constantly not only their boss, but he was their friend as well. But he was tough and he really expected a lot out of all of his employees and store managers and things like that. But he really inspired his employees. He was a great encourager and inspired everyone around him and made them as good or better than him. It didn't matter to him. He didn't care if they had more achievements than him. He was always thinking that everyone that you touch in your lives, if they achieve greatness or they achieve this and that, then that's more important than you being recognized for doing anything.
Being a great leader, a great mentor is so important in today's world. We're
Yeah.
lacking it in a lot of areas, especially with our younger generations. And I wish that I could do more than what I am. I probably could do more. I'm not a Kirk, and I wish I was, because I know he did an amazing job. But
Yeah.
there is definitely leadership and mentors that are needed out there every single day. And I
Yeah.
think that it's a blessing that he was able to do it. You know, if Did you keep in touch with any of the employees after the fact? Did any of them, do you have a relationship with any of them out of what happened at Gator Rents and now, or anything like that?
Unfortunately, the one man that his name was Nick, I've lost track of him. I've tried to reach him and find him, but I can't find him and locate him anymore. He really was one of the longest employees there at Gator Rents. I am still in contact with some of his employees that he had at First American Rental. I just talked to one a couple of weeks ago to help me with some of the timelines and different things like that, because he was probably one of the first. David Oliver was probably one of the first hires that Kirk did at First American Rental. And it was way before I started working there. So I got a lot of information and stuff from David.
Wait. I didn't know this. You worked for Rent to Own?
I worked at First American. That's how Kirk met me. Yeah. You want to hear how we met?
Absolutely. You can't say that you worked for Rent to Own and not tell me how. I didn't know that. That's amazing. So how did that happen?
Yeah. So he always loves telling this story. He really did. For him, he said it was love at first sight. But I was there applying for a job for Audrey McCullough, administrative assistant. And so I was sitting in the lobby, and Kirk and David Oliver were coming in from lunch, and they walked right past me and they said hello, and I said hello. And then Kirk walked straight back to Audrey's office, and he goes, "There's a girl out there in the lobby. Is she here for that job that you've got?" She goes, "Yes." He goes, "Well, if you don't hire her today, I'm going to quit. I'm going to sign my job. You'll never see me again, blah, blah, blah." And she's looking, goes, "Are you?" "Yes, I'm serious." And she goes, "Well, I haven't even looked at her resume." And he goes, "I don't care if she can type. You're hiring her." And of course she did. Of course, then I could type. I was a really good assistant. And the rest is history kind of thing.
Wow. How long did you stay there for?
Just a couple of years. I mean, I had to go work somewhere else because, we started having a relationship, and, you're not supposed to really have a relationship, especially with the executive level. And
Right.
I found another job somewhere else. Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Are you getting everything out of your rent to own business? If you're not an APRO member, then the answer is probably no. Look, advocacy is APRO's bread and butter. This is why they were created and what they do best. But here's the thing. APRO membership is about way more than advocacy. APRO connects you to the movers and the shakers of the industry. People who've been there, done that, and they can help you do it even better. APRO's monthly webinars give you expert insights and actionable takeaways. Got questions about complex regulations or sticky situations? No problem. APRO's legal hotline gives you direct access to experts who have got the answers. That's a peace of mind that you can't put a price on. And let's not forget the resources, news, updates, and tools that keep you ahead of the curve. Scholarships for your team? Check. Disaster relief when you need it most? Double check. APRO is your ultimate support system in the rent-to-own world. Head over to rtohq.org and join the APRO family today. Because in this business, more isn't just better. It's essential. See you at the top with APRO. That's amazing. I have met a few people in my career, 21 years this year, and it happens. I mean, we spend a lot of time at work, especially in the rent-to-own, when you're in operations, and you open, you close with people, you get to learn a lot about them, and what moves them, what motivates them, their family, what kind of person they're like. And before you know it, I mean, things happen. I've seen it more than 5 occasions. So I know this is 6 now. So it happens. I mean, it really does happen.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world out there, but
Uh-huh.
it's one of those amazing things that a lot of them always have a story. This is how it happened. This is where it came from.
Mhm.
This is, and I love it. So let me ask you, when all the lights are off, because Kurt was everywhere, right? I mean, he was at Gator. He was all over the community. When the
Uh-huh.
lights were off, when he came home after work, you said, he came home when he finally came home, what kind of person was Kirk after it was all said and done and the lights turned off and he got to close the door and finally kind of just be you and him? What kind of person was that?
You mean when he came home at night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some people have that, at work they have to be, I wouldn't say somebody that they're not, but there's a portrayal of certain things, right? If you were a
Yeah.
general, you have to be that stern, this is the way it's got to be. And it's not necessarily the person that comes home, but it is a person that's forward facing, whether you're on TV, whether you're, a general, whether you're in sales,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to put that forward. Was he that same person when he got home? Was he just as wild and crazy, or was he like a laid back, timid person? Like, what kind of person was he?
Well, he was never like that at Gator Rents. He was never that person. Now, he was that person at First American Rental, I have to admit to that. But then he was just himself, and he was just fun loving and wanted to go and do things. And when he had Gator Rents, the way he was at home was the same way he was at Gator Rents. And that's why his customers just adored him and loved him. They would want to come to make a payment on their account just so they could see him, because he would cut up with them and they would have such a great time. And he did have this, I have to tell you this story. He did have this one lady, sweet lady, that was a customer. And every time you called her on her phone, she would always answer the phone and say, "Jesus is Lord." That's how she answered the phone. She didn't say hello. She said, "Jesus is Lord." And she just loved Kirk. She called Kirk, Mr. Kirk, Mr. Kirk. That's what she called him. So every year at Easter, Kirk always made sure he would call her that Saturday before Easter, because she would answer the phone and say, "Jesus is Lord." And Kirk would always say, "Because he is risen." And she would just laugh and scream out. She goes, "Is that you, Mr. Kirk?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's me." He just had that kind of personality. It was so big. His personality was huge. I mean, just a shining star. And if you were lucky enough to know him and be with him, boy, you were around something really special. Yeah. And he was,
So I hear, I mean,
yeah.
I always hear
Yeah.
that, you know, where do you think, his instinct to give back to his community and his family and everything came from? Where was that? Was that an innate thing that was inside of him all the time? Did he get that from somebody to just always want to give back and be positive and leading in the community?
Tell you, his mother was a big volunteer and very involved in Kirk's life. His parents divorced when he was 13. So that's a rough age for your parents to be. And and his father moved to another state. So he only got to spend a couple of weeks out of the summer with his dad every year. And so they just weren't very close at all. And his mother was very instrumental in how he turned out and the way he is today. And I think one of the big reasons why he got so involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters is because all the men in his neighborhood, when his father left, stepped up to be the father figure and the male figure in Kirk's life, showing him how to fix his car, or taking it, be there with him when he trying to build his little derby for Boy Scouts, or, taking him to wrestling matches. And so I know Kirk always remembered that, and he would talk to me about that. So I think even at a young age of 23, he made that huge commitment to be a big brother. And I think it was because he knew what it was like personally, you know, to not to go through those years without a father. and a male figure in your life. And he was so committed to it. He never stopped. Even when we moved away, his name was Brad Smith, and Brad would come and stay with us a week or two during the summer when he was off. And they would always write to one another and still talk to each other. Kirk was there for his bar mitzvah. Kirk was there for his graduation. He was there for his wedding. In fact,
Wow.
the last time the two of them spoke was like a couple of weeks before Kirk died. And I happened to be in the car with Kirk when Brad called, and he was wanting his opinion and advice on his career. Was sort of had not a problem, but he was really wanting Kirk to help him solve this particular thing in his career. And so they talked and everything, and caught up with each other. And that was the last time Brad spoke to him.
What is something that you want to make sure that people knew about him as far as what he did in the community?
Well, he would, like at church, our church sponsored a homeless shelter, and it was always, hey, we're missing a volunteer, and it's the night shift, and we need someone to, Kirk would always be that one to say, yeah, I'll do that. I'll man the homeless shelter in the night shift, which is, and he would be up all day and all night doing that. And, a lot of people didn't realize, every year after 9/11, on 9/11, he would go and buy like 10 large pizzas and go to the local fire station
Oh,
and
wow.
deliver it and say, thank you for your service. We really appreciate you. I remember, he would do food drives for the food bank and things like that and coordinate all of that. And there would be times like where the two of us would be out to dinner and we would see a family at a table next to us and, with all their kids, and their kids are all over the place and they're trying to keep it together. We kind of remember how it all was for us back then. And he would pull the waitress aside and say, I want to pay for all their tab. I'm going to pay for their dinners, but you have to promise me not to tell them that I paid for it. And he would do things like that all the time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, he has this, every time I'm telling you, every time I hear about it, it's almost like a larger than
Mhm.
life kind of thing where, he just
But
really had his hands on the steering wheel.
yeah.
You know, and,
Yeah.
and, and you know this personally, right? You're with him all the time. You've been married to him for years and years and years. He's been an integral part of your life as far as everything's been going on. You the same for him.
Mhm.
As he's gone on and done more things, he's been a part of Buddies, has been a part of, a couple of other things in Gator Rents. After he passed, what was it like? What did you hearing, about Kirk from other people? Because I'm saying this now, but usually when people
Yeah.
are and I don't want to, I hate to say that, but when people are around, we don't speak about him the same way. Unfortunately, we don't. We probably should say this
Yeah.
guy's the greatest guy ever, right? But then sometimes when somebody passes, that's when we start saying, "Oh, I remember this time and I remember that time." What did you find out about your husband across the industry after he had passed, and the stories that you heard from other people? Was it was it the same thing that you knew at home every day, every time when he came home, or did you find out something new and you're like, "Oh my goodness, there's more to it"?
Well, Kirkin always shared. He was not a good person in sharing his feelings. He didn't share his feelings, but he was always good about sharing everything that was going on in his life with me. He always kept his feelings kind of close knit into himself. Well, it surprised me that first year when I was there to give the award for Kirk. Well, first of all, you have to realize it his passing, his heart attack, and the way it was so sudden. It just sent a ripple throughout the whole industry and all his friends, all our family. I mean, it was devastating and very traumatizing. So that first year when I went there to give out the award and everything, everyone kept coming up to me and hugging me, and they were crying and they were telling me all about how much Kurt meant to them. And I did my very best holding it all together, but I had no idea how much everyone truly just loved him and all the wonderful things they said about him. And it was so emotional for me that the next year I told my son, I said, I don't think I can do it again. don't think I could do it. I said, you do it next year. So he did it that following year and everything, but it got better for me. I'm really now very eager and very proud to be a part of cultivating this environment of making a difference in your community and beyond. And I want to try to do everything I can to support that. And I just feel very honored that they chose to honor his legacy and his memory by naming it after him.
I don't think Paul would have it any other way. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to Paul in just a minute.
Yeah.
But walk me through the moment that FRDA told you that they wanted to create an award in his name. What was that like to hear that, Kirk has touched people in such a way? He made such an impact in the RTO industry that they actually wanted to do this. What was that like getting that call? Or you tell me, was it a call? Did somebody show up, or how did it go?
Paul called me and told me that they wanted to do that. And you have to remember it was within the first 30 days of him passing. So I was very emotional, but I just couldn't believe that they were wanting to do this and honor him and remember him. So I think they had decided to do it one or two ways, to either create a scholarship in Kirk's memory and in his name, and then Paul said, but I'm leaning toward this and call it the Kirk Kaye Volunteer Award. And I went, oh, I really like that, Paul. And he goes, and it's also sort of a little play on words because he was such a big volunteer fan.
He stuck it in there. There you go.
He stuck that in there. And also, Tennessee is a volunteer state and the state of the volunteers, right? Tennessee is, and they're known for that. And Kirk was truly a Tennessee volunteer in all sense of the words and in its all sense of the ways. Yeah.
Now, getting back to Paul, Paul had said before that Kirk was one of his mentors, that he did go to him and he got a lot of mentorship from him.
Yeah.
He took a lot from, what he did. He took a lot from his advice, from the way he treated the community, from the way he was with his customers, with the way he treated his RTO career.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that mentorship between Paul and him, the way he interacted with Paul and some of that things? Or was it kind of like, hey, I'm going to go eat dinner with Paul, or I'm going to go call Paul? Like, were you ever a part of that? Did you ever get to see that?
I did, and I remember it so vividly. We were living in Daytona, and Kirk came home from the office, and he goes, look, I have a guy coming over, and his name is Paul Metivier, and he said that he works for Rent-A-Center. I think he was working for Rent-A-Center at the time. I'm not real sure about that. And he goes, and he wants my advice, and he needs to talk to me. And I said, well, is he going to stay for dinner? Set out something, or he goes, no, he goes, I don't know yet. And I said, well, there'll be plenty. And he said, when he gets here, I'm going to take him out on the back porch. And they must have been out on the back porch for about an hour or two. I mean, just talking. And Kirk was the kind of guy that if you ever needed advice, he would be the one that you would want to talk to, because he would never tell you, this is what you should do, and you should never do this, or don't do that, or, this is what happened to me, or anything like that. He would listen to everything that you're saying, and then he would sort of say, this is my experience with this, and you have to ask yourself if this is really what you want and how you want your life to go, not just your career, but you have to think of your family and everything else, and put that variable in your decision making. And I'm sure he talked to him a lot about that. It's important to have a team. Your partner in life needs to be your greatest team player and cheerleader. And you really need to have that, or it just won't work. And I was never privy to, if I was, I kind of maybe forgotten throughout the years, because that was very long ago. But like 15 years ago or 20 years ago, I mean, it was a long time ago. But I do remember meeting Paul and him, and the two of them having that deep conversation together. And I think, don't want to talk for Paul, but I think Paul was at a crossroads in his career, and he really needed someone that had seen both sides of it. And Kirk has seen both sides and lived both sides. So that's why it was so important for Paul to talk to Kirk. And I I truly believe that, I don't think it was because of Kirk, but it certainly helped Paul make a really great decision in his life and in his career.
I think it did too, because Paul
Yeah.
does reference that conversation quite a bit. He actually has referenced it to me as well.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because, I know it made a difference,
Yeah.
but I love Paul, and he's got a lot going on in his life. He's always busy.
Yeah.
He's done a lot for the Impact Group, and he's done a lot for FRDA. He's done a lot, in general. I don't know if you know this, Paul and I met years and years and years ago.
Really?
We both worked for RAC at that time. We weren't in the positions that we are now.
Yeah.
And there was a Hurricane Charlie, that came through in South
What?
Florida, and one of my store was hit in Hurricane Charlie. And
Uh,
I worked out of an office trailer for about 9 months,
Oh,
and we were in the same region, so we
yeah.
did. It's crazy how time and everything has gone by, and yet I still know it was great to see him a few years ago and kind of reconnect. But he's done a lot. He's done a lot. He's done quite a few things.
He has. He's achieved greatness. He
He
really has.
he's an achiever, isn't he? He's an achiever. I say that. Paul, I'm looking at you. You're an achiever. So with with this
He's an
award,
inspiration.
he is an inspiration. As you have this, right? There's this award.
Yeah.
It's in Kirk Kaye's name, but you're the one that goes through the nominees and selects the winner. Is that correct?
Yes, and I also share the nominees with my children, so I get their input as well.
So as you're deciding,
Mhm.
walk me through the process. How do you decide if somebody's going to get the Kirk Kaye Achievement, the Volunteer Award?
Personally, Pete, I wish all of them could get the Kirk Kaye Volunteer Award. Because it's hard to pick the one, right? But I lean more toward the person that has Kirk's character, and I can feel Kirk's character, but it doesn't take away from all the other ones. Like I said, wow, I wish we could give all of them this award, and I don't have a favorite one through the years or anything like that, because they're all special to me and special to my children. So, yeah, that's how I feel about it. Yeah. And that's how we pick. I get their input, and then we all sort of decide on this one person. And then I let Paul know who it is.
I'm glad that you say that you bring the kids into it, that they can be a
Yeah.
part of that.
Oh, yeah.
It's and with all the children, is there I want to say this just to, is there a tiebreaker? Like if there's 2 for one and somebody for another, like how does it work if everybody wants one or not want one, or the two, like is there somebody who gets a tiebreaker on that?
Probably me.
Okay.
We all agree on the same one. I'm so proud of my children, because Kirk was such a great example of how to think of other people first before yourself. And my children are exactly like that. They are so giving and they're so loving. They always put other people before themselves. And it's because of Kirk. I mean, really is because of Kirk. Kirk even made me a better person, so I'm very proud of them.
So every year you make it down to FRDA and you present the award. So
I'm going to do a lot better job of it.
So how does that have a time limit on it? Do you say I'm going to do it for the next 5 years, 10 years? Is it going to be as long as you can do it that you'll be presenting it?
I'm going to do it as long as I'm physically able to do it. And hopefully that's going to be the next 20 or 30 years for me. So yes, I really want to be there, and I really want to support this effort. And I really want them all to know how important they are as individuals, because I pray this prayer every morning, that everyone that I meet, let my life be a blessing to them and humble me, and always help me to think of other people first before me. And I really feel that it's important to share that story, and to share that just to inspire and encourage other people to be like that as well.
Hey everyone, it's Pete Shau here from the RTO Show Podcast, and I want to tell you about a company that's making a real difference in the rent-to-own space, Wow Brands. I've seen firsthand how they approach marketing. And let me tell you, it's not just about ads. Wow Brands builds complete digital ecosystems designed specifically for the rent-to-own industry. Their e-commerce and lead generation strategies are built to bring in qualified leads. And did I mention that they are actively working with the rent-to-own industry while also being members of APRO and TRIB? Listen, these folks are passionate problem solvers. They don't just slap something together. They design, build, and scale the kind of digital retail tools your business needs and your customers actually want. So if you're serious about growing, reach out to Wow Brands at wowbrands.com. I trust them, and I think you will too. So what goes to your head as you? I know you said, what makes you feel closer to Kirk. What is that? Somebody who does a certain type of giving? Is it a mentor type person? Is it somebody who knows how to coach basketball and football very well, or little league, or like in your mindset? What is that? What is that divine idea like when you're reading it? You go, that's Kirk right there.
It's not so much what they wrote down, what it says in the nominations and how they describe all the wonderful things that they all been doing. It's just a really a gut feeling of the whole underlying feel of what I'm reading. And then I just go with my instinct and I trust my instinct with it. But they're all wonderful. And like I said, I wish I could give them all an award. Yeah, I really do.
We know that it means a lot to you.
Yes, it does.
What do you feel, or what do you hope it feels like for somebody who actually wins the award?
Well, that they walk away with knowing that they stay humble and they always remember to be a blessing toward others. Not so much, it's a great honor to be awarded this, but to always think about what's really important in life. And is the people that you meet every day and all your fellow man. And that's what I hope they always walk away with.
I know that when I first saw it, I didn't even know what was happening. So it's not like they came out and said, "Hey, Pete, we're going to do this." So that, the Kirk Kaye Award comes out, and the first winner was Teresa Hill, correct? Am I correct in saying that? And I had worked with Teresa, a little bit, and I didn't know that she did half that stuff either. And probably the same thing with the people who might have worked around Kirk. They might have not known that he did all these things on the side. 31 years is how long you were together?
Yes. We dated for a couple of years, before we got married. But yes, we were married for 31 years.
So what was Kirk like in the early 20s versus towards the last few days, that personality, like, was there like this big curve, or was he always that giving? Or, as he came into it, because you said, he knew what it was like to not have, he knew what it was like to go through certain things. He wanted people to understand that he knew it and he wanted to give back to it. Was that always in his mindset, or did it grow on him as time went on? And he said, I always want to be there, but I think there's even more of a calling for this. Not only am I going to do, the Boys and Girls Club, I'm going to reach out and do other things as well. Like, was there a huge difference in his giving in the early years as to the later years, or was it like always on? Like he was just always full on, let's get this done.
Well, he did a lot in his early years because he didn't have a family and it was just him, right? At that moment, he didn't get married until he was 29. So he had a lot of time that he could devote to that. And it's funny that, when we first started dating, he wanted to make sure that I understood that he was committed to these certain things and that I don't want you to feel like I don't want to be around you, Celia. He goes, but I have a strong commitment to this. And you're going to have to either understand and be on board and be with me on that, or our relationship is just not going to work. And he told me that right up front, but I had a small child at the time too. So it worked out good for us. And we became really good partners and teams players regarding that. As he got older and, and you have your own family and things start filling up more of your time. And then he had Gator Rents. he couldn't do as much as he used to do, but he was always trying to, whatever anybody need anything or volunteer, or especially through the church, or there was a lot of times where a lot of homeless people would come into the store and he wouldn't enable them, but he would always help them. And then when Haiti was hit with that massive earthquake, I mean, he just got really quiet. I mean, he really did. And this went on for a couple of weeks, and I had not ever seen him get so quiet and so withdrawn. And it was, Pete, it was almost like our dear sweet Lord Jesus came down from heaven and tapped Kirk Kaye on the shoulder and said, "I want you to go to Haiti." And Kirk looks at me and goes, "I'm gonna go to Haiti." And I'm looking at him going,
Oh,
"You're gonna
wow.
go do what?" No, I don't think so. I mean, he was approaching 50, and I'm like, I said, "There's so much crime there." And I said, he goes, "Well, I could take care of myself like that." And I was like, "Oh, you can, huh? For the last 20 years, you've been going to work, coming home, and kiss me and look at me and say, 'What's for dinner?' And you're gonna just, yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I could take care of myself." But yeah, he went with on a couple of mission trips. And even though I was better on the second one than I was on the first one, I'm ashamed to say, because I was so worried when he left that day to get on the airplane. I cried, and I was like, "I'm never gonna see my husband again." 'Cause, I mean, he was gone for 10 days on the first mission trip, and there was no communication. I mean, you had to have,
Oh.
like, a Jurassic Park satellite phone to even reach them. We're lucky to get that. And so it was like 10 days of silence, and I just was not I did not handle all that very well. I was much better on the second mission trip than I was on the first one. But yeah, so I mean, he had times where it wasn't as busy or that, but that with that devastation to Haiti when that happened, it consumed him. There was no maybe do this or maybe not do this. No, I have to be there and I have to do this. And I haven't seen that really side of him in a very long time.
He had conviction. There was no doubt about it. It sounds
Oh
like
yeah.
he had serious conviction to
Yes, he
spread
did.
his help and his influence anywhere that he could in a positive light.
Oh yeah.
Talking to everyone now who's listening, you knew a side of
Yeah.
him that nobody knew.
Yeah.
You saw him on his on days, on his off days. You've seen him, with one company or another. There's a lot that came out about Kurt, right? As the time going on, and now that we have the Kirk Kaye Volunteer Award. And so
Yeah.
we found out a lot. What is something about Kirk that we just don't know that you'd want to share with somebody and say this was a part of Kirk that people should know about him?
That he had a really big heart. I mean, he had a soft side. Um, because he was such a big man. I mean, he was 6'4", and he was always, like, rough and tough and blah, blah, blah. And I always have to get on to him, "You're being too rough with the kids." "Oh, they'll be alright." I'm like, but he had a really soft side. I mean, he could be watching a movie, and I'll walk in to the room, and he's watching a movie, and I'm looking and go, "Are you crying? Why are you crying?" It's just a movie. And it would just touch him in a certain way. So, a lot of people would not know that he had a very soft side to him, and he could get moved very easily, and he couldn't hide his feelings from it all. Yeah.
Well, that would definitely take somebody who knew him well
Yeah.
because, with that type of stature, I doubt that anybody would imagine him sitting on the
No.
sofa shedding a tear or two for a good movie.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just great to talk about Kirk and a lot of the things that he's done
Yeah.
and
It is.
being able to recognize somebody who not only touched a lot of lives, but has been recognized for doing that. Coming to an end as we come to a close,
Yeah.
you know, if and this is pure speculation. If you think, if Kirk had one final thing to say to the RTO community, what do you think that would be?
Well, to always put your customers first and to build that relationship. That was the most important thing to him. And he would be so proud that the rent-to-own is still providing this, because he believed in rent-to-own industry providing a great service for all, and the opportunities and all the wonderful things that come out of rent-to-own industry. But for him, also, it was, your customers are not just your customers. It's not always about the spreadsheets or hitting your numbers and things like that. It's more of how you are with your customers and the relationship you have with them and the relationship you have with your other employees and, your employees or your colleagues, and also within your community. And to me, that would be what he would stress more than anything.
Do you think that as things have manifested in the last 5 years, did you
Yeah.
ever think that his legacy would look the way it does now?
No, I didn't. 'Cause, I mean, I saw it, my children saw it, his close friends saw it, but I just had no idea that he would be living forever, because this sort of makes him still here for me and for the children. And, it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing.
I
Yeah.
completely agree. You know, it's just been an honor and a pleasure to be able to talk to you and kind of just relive a little bit of
Yeah.
what Kirk did and what he meant to so many people, whether it
Yeah.
be Paul, whether it be David, whether it be the children, whether it be Brad, whether it be yourself, just the lives that he's touched, the way that he's been able to
Yeah.
kind of still be here without being here.
I'll do a shout out to Mike Zager, though. Mike was really so good to me and the children, and the family after Kurt passed away. And him and Paul would always be in touch with me close to the anniversary of that, even check in on us around the holidays. Kurt just loved Mike. He really did. He just loved Mike and loved working for Buddy. He loved Paul, and there were so many people in the industry that he just probably felt very fortunate and very blessed to be a part of all of that and to be a part of their lives. He really was.
Well, I appreciate having you on, Cecilia. It's been amazing. It's been amazing conversation. And I'm going to tell you guys, listen, stories like this is what makes the RTO community amazing. If you guys have anything that you want to share, hit me up, Pete at the RTO Show Podcast.com. You can hit us up on all the social medias and Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, YouTube, where you're going to see this, even in TikTok and X, where we have some new accounts. Please feel free. Go to the website. Also, we have a newsletter that comes out with some stuff that we don't cover here on the show. And listen, everything that we do is what we do for you, especially stories like this. Cecilia, thank you so much. And I'm going to tell you guys, as always, I appreciate everything that this show can get and does, and the honor that I get to talk to you guys. So I'm going to sign off a little different today. I'm going to tell you guys, be good to one another, be good to everybody in your community, and remember, we're all human, so we all do our best, just like Kirk did, to make tomorrow a little bit brighter. Have a great one.